How awful.
Whenever, wherever, meant to be together.
I'll be there
And you'll be near. What accent is that?
Shakira.
I know, but what accent are we doing? Because that's not Shakira.
Oh, no. I thought it sounded exactly like Shakira.
No. Mom, what do you think? No. That's Mom.
Hi.
That's Grandmaster Rose, Rosie,
yes.
Nana,
I
Mommy.
have the force.
Yes. Whichever you prefer.
Yes.
She can be your mother, too.
I'm Mama B.
That's true.
This is guest number 2 of the How Awful podcast.
Yes. My mother by birth, her mother by...
I choose Grandmaster Rose as my second mother.
Yes.
As her southern mother.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh.
That sounds interesting.
Southern mother.
What do you have to offer me, Southern Mother?
Biscuits.
Gravy.
So for the COVID shamers, just so you know, my mother basically lives in quarantine, as is.
Yes, I do.
She flew here very safely, sat down next to no one, had a face shield and a mask. We don't see anyone ever, and all she did was come here, and now she's also quarantining here. We're still not going out or doing anything. So my mom is here for Thanksgiving, but we did so safely, so don't shame us.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes.
Well, welcome. I'm Tanya Lee.
I'm B.
And I'm Grandmaster Rose.
I love that you're leaning into
Yes,
that.
we're leaning into it.
And we're here to tell some stories.
Yeah, not your typical episode. We don't have topics. Mostly we're just going to talk to Mom over here because she's got some
you're
doozies.
not going to tell any stories?
We're going to tell a listener story.
I'll read the first part,
Okay.
and then you can read the
She
second
has
part.
2 stories. She survived 2 things.
Yes, okay.
So go have at it.
So we were very excited when we got an email.
Mm-hmm.
We were like Blue's Clues, like, I got a letter.
No,
I got a letter.
that's not
Wait,
what
no.
it-
Who does
Oh,
that?
it's the mail call. No,
yeah.
that's Pee Wee Herman.
No, you're right. It's mail. There's mail here. I don't remember it, but you guys know.
Do you know that he gets email now? No, I think it's text messages now. He used to get emails.
He gets text messages
We're
now?
old, is what I'm
Gosh.
saying.
He used to get letters by the mail
Yeah.
back in my day.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got a letter in the email box, not an actual mailbox, from a young lady named Megan.
That would have been concerning if it was in our actual mailbox.
Wouldn't it be?
How does she know where we live?
So the subject is I survived car crash and burst appendix, which kind of seems pretty standard, but I did skim through this real quick, and it's not
cray.
standard.
It's cray.
So we're going to dive in.
Okay.
So I'm going to read the first story, and then B is going to read us the second story.
Okay.
When I was 14, I being Megan.
Yes.
When I was 14, I lied to my parents to go out to a movie that I wasn't allowed to see, and that a parent was driving when it was really a friend.
I wonder what movie it was.
Oh, yeah, we should reply and ask.
I'm guessing it was rated R.
Megan, what was the movie?
Yeah.
On the way home, the very old car that I was in encountered a rare mechanical problem. The driver, being inexperienced and 16, thought the best plan of action would be to turn off the car while driving approximately 50 miles per hour.
Sounds smart. My mom is agonizing. You can verbally respond to mom.
The steering wheel locked, and the car bounced off the curb and straight into oncoming traffic.
Mm-hmm.
Because the car was old, the seatbelt didn't quite fit me right, and I wound up putting the shoulder strap under my armpit. Oh.
So how you do, Mom?
Oh, no.
I don't
do that? Oh, no, you have your little clip now. But you used to do that.
Because
Yeah.
I can't
She couldn't stand
it
it
by
up
my
her
neck.
throat.
Yeah.
So the result of pressure on impact of the shoulder strap and belt strap resulted in a fractured and dislocated vertebrae, aka a broken back. I blacked out briefly on impact, and upon waking, my legs from the waist down were tingly and felt like they were asleep. I could not get out of the car on my own. A friend, with the best intentions, carried me out. Hello, you're not supposed to move someone with a back injury. But neither of us knew how severe it was.
Grey's Anatomy didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
Or did, I think.
Maybe.
I don't know how old she is.
She was 14.
I know,
yeah, we
how
know
old
how
she
old
is
she
now.
is. Oh, yeah, that's true. The next morning, I was rushed into emergency surgery to repair my spinal injury where I had metal rods screwed into my back, and it took me several weeks to regain strength and learn to walk again.
Yikes.
I was told by the very talented surgeon that my injury was incredibly rare and he had not yet seen anyone who was able to walk away after. Wow. Yeah, you definitely survived that.
Uh-huh.
And while it's regretful I didn't have my seatbelt on correctly, I have heard many stories since that if you're not wearing your seatbelt during a head-on collision, you will most likely be catapulted through the windshield, and the glass basically cuts your face off, and most people die.
Didn't that happen to Donna? Didn't she go through a windshield? My aunt,
Oh,
my mom's sister, went through a windshield. It cut up her face pretty bad, but she survived because
Yikes.
Donna survives everything. She
Not
would
in a bad
survive
way.
the apocalypse. She's been through everything.
yeah.
And
She's been through more than most humans.
and she
could
comes out the
ever.
other side.
She's a survivor.
Yes.
So I would say I walked away a winner in this situation. Moral of the story, wear your seatbelt properly,
Uh-huh.
and don't lie to your parents.
Oh, jeez.
Boy, I'm for that.
That's
I
super
would-
important.
That's a
I
big
would
time
love
punishment.
to see a child that actually would not lie to their parents.
You're looking at her.
I know. I'm looking right
It's
at
me.
her.
It's,
I know.
It's her. I told a fib or two. I don't think she ever did.
I probably did, but I don't really remember what it would have been about.
I can't think of a single one.
Me neither, but I'm sure I did.
I mean, if we broke something, you said we did. If you spilled something, you fessed up to it. If we were late, you told her why. I mean, I can't think of a single time.
Well, that's, parents tend to handle things a little
Yeah.
differently when they're told the truth the first time.
yeah, but kids are stupid and they don't have that brain function.
Their brains are not completely developed
No,
properly
no.
yet.
No, and the beating that
teenagers-
commences makes them not develop correctly.
Teenagers are just a
Nightmares?
breed of their own.
Basically. All right, so this is story number 2, same person. There we go. My other story is from when I was pregnant. When I was around 7 months pregnant, I started getting pains in my side and trouble with range of motion. I spoke to my doctor, many doctors, and was told it was normal pregnancy pain. Also, doctors thought it was related to my former back injury. As the pain increased, I continued to consult doctors, made several trips to the ER, and was told by nurses that I had a low pain tolerance. Someone with a broken back has a low pain tolerance? I doubt it. 5 weeks early, I went into labor and had a natural birth with no epidural, again, thanks to the rods that were put in my back from the back injury. A few days later, when the pain and mobility issues did not subside, I asked my doctor again. A specialist, an internist, came to see me in the hospital where he recommended an ultrasound, which led to a CAT scan, which revealed a soft ball-sized fluid sac in my right side, right where my appendix is. Turns out my appendix had burst several weeks earlier and against all odds did what is called walling it off. The infected fluid did not leak all over my body, as is what is most common with a burst appendix, which would have led me to become septic and most likely die, but instead formed a fluid ball in my side, protecting me and my baby from harm.
Okay, she has an angel
Something.
that watches over her. She's got a blessed life, but she doesn't need to tempt it.
No.
No.
A day or two after this was discovered, they did a procedure to drain the infected fluid from my body and was put in one of the highest doses of antibiotics you can get. A couple days after that, I went home with a PICC line for antibiotics, the remains of my appendix, and a healthy baby boy. My appendix was finally removed a couple months ago when I was already scheduled to have an ovarian cyst removed. They said it looked almost intact and that it must have been a micro tear that caused the fluid leak 5 years earlier, which is also a very rare thing to happen. Moral of this story, be your own advocate, especially in medical situations. Don't let doctors tell you that you're fine if you truly believe there is something wrong. Studies show that doctors don't listen or believe women, even less so black women. Even women doctors, especially in medical situations. And then she linked an article to appendicitis during pregnancy that we'll link in our Patreon. And that's Megan.
Wow.
Good for her.
So,
Good for
I
her.
mean, that her body was like, no, we're protecting this baby.
Your body is a wonderland.
That's right.
Your body is a wonderland.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
We sounded exactly like John Mayer. Don't look at us like that.
She doesn't appreciate her singing.
We sounded exactly like him.
Exactly.
We sounded exactly like that man.
She is shaking her head
I'm
vigorously.
shaking my head now.
So
they must have
Well,
sniffed.
Cheers to survival.
Cheers to survival.
Yay.
I would come cheers you, but my assistant's on my lap.
There she goes. There you go. Yeah, we have, again, HR issue immediately.
Yeah, my
Did
assistant...
she jump there or did you put her there?
No,
She jumped up there.
She jumped into my lap very aggressively.
Izzy.
And I just let her because she controls me. She's
She
my
does.
assistant. She bosses me around, tells me what to do, and I listen.
She's the boss, actually.
As most...
We're fired.
Yeah, as most assistant-boss relationships tend to
It's
be.
true.
The assistants just boss their bosses around until their
She
bosses...
knows. My mom knows. Her assistant wakes her up in the middle of the night because he has to pee-pee and he can't
And
do it
he's
himself.
7 pounds.
It's a very small assistant.
He thinks he rules the world.
Uh-huh.
Is he okay?
He's not, no.
Oh.
He has, like, no teeth.
Sounds cute.
He is
adorable.
absolutely adorable.
Is he single?
Yes, he is.
Oh, okay. You sure? What about Remy?
Well,
He doesn't sound like my type.
he
No
doesn't.
teeth.
He doesn't
7
do
pounds.
anything with Remy.
True. You like short guys.
It's not that I like short
You
guys.
lean toward short guys.
They just like me, and then I'm just not that shallow, and I like them back, so...
She's a tall lady, so if she didn't like short guys, then there'd be no dating pool.
Well, thankfully, I'm not taller than all guys. I'm an average man height,
You're an average man height.
which is a tall woman height.
Yes.
So the average man is at least my height or taller. But
You find the opposite of the Napoleon complex guys. These guys are shorties who have no fear of the tall ladies.
Well, my mother was tall.
She was very tall.
Yes.
And I bet you at her healthiest, she might have been about as tall as you.
yes.
Yeah, about 5'10", 5'11".
Yeah, for the record, I'm 5'10".
Yeah.
So it's not that.
Yes.
Don't be alarmed.
She's like 5'10".
Actually, I'm 5'9"3/4.
What?
Mm-hmm.
You're shorter than I
She's
thought.
shrinking.
She's shrinking.
I have
How
a
tall
tall.
was your dad, Mom?
My dad was 5'9".
Okay, so he was shorter than her. I knew that.
Oh,
Yes,
so
he
he's my
was.
golden height. That's the height that I'm actually really attracted to. Is guys that are
You
5'9".
telling me you want Virgil?
No,
Um.
no, that's my daddy.
So backstory on Miss Rosie. She was born and raised in Chicago, just like her daughter. Spent a few years in Alabama. That's her accent. Lived in Tennessee with my father as well. And she has experienced, let's see, just off the top of my head, she's experienced living through a tornado while in a glass fast food restaurant.
Oh.
Yeah, she's survived being essentially kidnapped by her ex-boyfriend who did not want to be her ex-boyfriend.
This is true.
This is true, yeah. Let's see, she survived car accidents.
Several. Too many.
The worst of which being the semi-truck in your backseat.
Yes.
Yes.
The constant pain in my neck.
Yes. Many a haunting.
Too many.
Too many a haunting. We talked a little bit about how I have a sensitivity to paranormal activity. Well, I got that from my mama, who also has a sensitivity towards paranormal activity. I don't know so much if you get information, but you get feelings, and you tend to attract children who need their mothers. So I find that very interesting. A short, quick tale. When her and my dad rented a house in Tennessee, and there was she's probably about between 14 and 16.
No, she was driving and she was killed in a car accident.
How did you know that?
The lady who we rented the house from told your dad.
Okay. But it was the daughter of the owner of the house. And she lingered. We believe that my room was her room.
Right.
Because I always felt really uneasy in my room and in my bathroom.
Which house was this? I forget.
McAllister, you never were there. It was their rental.
Oh, okay.
Before we got our house. We were
and
there about a year.
What was some of the things you experienced with her in that house?
Coming home and having the candle in the dining room lit.
Lit?
On the buffet.
They never lit these candles unless they had company.
It was lit on the buffet.
Oh my god.
I have felt her come into my room and sit on the end of my bed.
Not welcome.
No, she was. My mom let her know
And
she
then
was.
finally, I Well, she kind of freaked me out the first time.
Did you see her or just feel
No,
her?
I just felt her. I could see the indent in the bed
Look
when
crazy.
she sat.
Oh my gosh.
That's how I knew she was really there.
Yeah.
And when she did it again, I felt like I needed to tell her, it's okay. You can be here. I am here for you. Everything's okay.
Wow.
And then she never came back to me again.
Interesting.
I don't know if you remember, and again, I don't know if this is connected or anything, but almost every time I came to visit that house specifically, I had a stomach flare up. I was sick almost the entire time,
Yep.
every time I came
Every
to see
time.
that.
You didn't feel good anytime.
And I barely came out of that room.
I think she did not want you in her room.
She may not have. I didn't sleep very well ever in that house. I was sick every time I was at that house. And every time I was in the bathroom, I didn't like looking in the mirror because I always felt like somebody
You'd
was
see
behind
her.
me. I didn't see her, but I always felt like I was going to.
But you were afraid you would.
yeah. I like to see things
I
moving.
just think her presence, I don't feel
Uh-huh.
ever. Her mother left the house because she couldn't stand to live there anymore after her daughter died. She was a single mother, and her daughter was her life. And so she moved, but she couldn't bear to sell it because it was the home that her and her daughter had lived in. And I just feel that her daughter, that's my home, and that's where I should be. And I felt like for the longest time she kept looking for her mother.
Oh my god.
I told her at one point, your mom's not here anymore, honey. She's moved on. She couldn't stand to be here without you. And then I think that's when she came and sat down at the end of my bed again one night, and I told her, I'm here for you, honey, if you need me.
Yeah, wow.
And
You've never really been like freaked out by
I've
a
never
ghost.
been afraid by it. Well,
Yeah.
except
Well, yeah. So we've talked. We're gonna prelude into this. So we've oh Lord, Tanya,
Grace is over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
We-
my grace.
we've mentioned on the podcast in the past that my brother lived in a very active house. That house has been in our family for how old
Well,
are you? When did you move into
Donna
that?
was 2,
Okay.
so 54 years.
And Donna, my mom's sister, still lives in the house.
She's the baby.
The chain of custody was my mom's family, so her parents, her sister Linda, who's her older sister, my mom, and her younger sister Donna. This is a 2-bedroom house, by the way.
No, 3. It
Well,
was
3. Her sewing room was I just remember it as her sewing room. And this was the house that my brother not inherited, but was given to rent after my grandparents passed away. He was given it to rent for his family. And that's when a whole bunch of malevolent garbage went on. And
Well, I think he caused. I think he conjured up the worst.
Yeah, because he was playing with Ouija boards and stuff, which he admits.
Do not.
Yes.
And they did
Wiccan stuff.
Wiccan stuff and
Yeah.
I think they did because
he got the name
Jeremy
Vincent from
got
something.
involved in it too.
Yeah.
So
They opened up something and brought in more to that house than needed to be there and has not been in there since. But my mom grew up in that house and apparently has stories she has not told me. So have at it, mommy.
Here we
Sorry,
are.
There's a kid in our apartment hallway that's yelling. So if you hear that,
yes,
it's not a ghost.
not me. It's not me. I've always been a very inquisitive, curious person.
Young lady.
And I can remember lying in bed in my bedroom, and all these imaginary things would come to mind, like things coming out of my closet and
This was the closet. I told Tanya
and
about
all
this
these
closet.
things. And I can remember waking up and the closet door being open when the closet door was always shut when we went to bed. And so you know, and just the feeling that of uneasiness, even though I was a child, I still didn't feel comfortable in the room with the door shut by myself.
Right.
Now, I slept in the room with my sister, Donna, my little sister. And I can remember laying in bed having dreams. And in these dreams, faces of people I know are coming at me fast. Not real fast. They start out slow. And I see my mom, I see my dad, you know, and all that. And then all of a sudden, these faces start coming at me faster. And the last one that freeze frames is the devil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yikes.
You know,
Sure.
of course, it's the devil that we picture. in
Yeah,
our
the
heads,
horns red.
right?
Yeah.
And I just remember waking up and I'm drenched in sweat, and my heart is beating out of my throat. And the first thing I do is look at that door.
The closet
To the
door?
closet. Because one time my mom had me painting the closet. I had me take everything out and paint the closet. I could not breathe when I was in that closet painting. Every time I went in there, I couldn't breathe. And it gave me headaches, severe headaches, to the point where my father finished painting it, and he told my mother I just didn't want to do it because he didn't have any problems. Then flash forward to when Nathan and them moved in, you know, Nathan and Kristen and their daughter Alexis, who's Nathan's adopted daughter. She wasn't at the time, but she is now. We're in the house, and he starts telling me of all these freaky things, you know, and he told me that Jeremy, Kristen's brother, saw my grandmother,
Who he's never seen before.
who he's never laid eyes on, in the basement
Ooh.
Oh.
of the house, staring at him.
Grandma Rosie?
No, Grandma May.
Mom May. Oh, Annie Mae.
The evil one.
This was the one I've mentioned on the podcast who did seances and
Yeah.
all that.
She was meaner than anything.
She was very mean.
Wow, she was okay. But so she's in the basement staring at him. And he said he knew he didn't know her. And he came upstairs and described her to Nathan and Kristen. And Nathan sat back in his chair and went, "That was my great grandmother."
Now, did he describe her when she was older or when
No,
she was younger?
younger.
Okay, so when she was mobile.
Yeah. And she was standing, she was all of 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
And we always said she was as round as she was tall, and that we could have rolled her in any direction because she was just this little roly-poly grandma, you know.
Yeah.
But she had this look she could get on her face that was sheer hatred. But my momma, she did seances in a house that's in in Alabama that I know well.
I even remember that house.
And she believed in watching, you know, the Twilight Zone. And she'd make us kids watch this with her to the point I would have nightmares over, you know, because Linda and I lived with her because my mother couldn't handle having 2 children at the time. And we got sent to move and live with the evil grandmother.
But she was in the basement?
Yeah, she was in the basement of
I
that
would not
house.
want to see that.
No.
Well, Jeremy didn't think anything of it because he didn't know her.
No.
And
He just saw this evil old lady.
but
Regardless, I would be like, I don't know who she is. I don't want to look at her. I
Yeah.
don't want to see that.
No.
well, Nathan always said in her younger pictures of her standing and her arms around my mother, who's 15, and my Uncle Kenneth, who just enlisted into the war, and he's in his uniform, she looked like a mob mom.
She did. She did. Have you seen that? You've seen that picture,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. He
She
said,
kind of looks like Mrs. Gulch in The Wizard of Oz, who becomes the Wicked Witch of the West. She kind of looks like her, but shorter.
I can remember being over at the house and Nathan and Jeremy and them telling me about the weird things that started going on about Alexis having a dream that she stabbed her mother to death with a knife.
No, it was that there was a man that came into her room and told her to get a knife and stab her mother.
That's right. He stood in the door.
And she said he was tall and she couldn't see his face and he was all in black and he had on a hat. And he told her to go in the kitchen, get a knife, told her exactly where the knives were.
And to stab her mother to death.
In her sleep.
Right.
Luckily, she told Kristen this instead of doing it.
And then they hid all the knives.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But I was leaving one night, and as I'm pulling out of the driveway, I'm hearing these vicious growls going around the house. And they just keep going around the house, and I hear it getting louder and louder, and it stops at Alexis's window and rears up to the window. And I got on my phone immediately and called Nathan and said, something is at Alexis's window.
So you could see it, or could you just
It was like
tell?
a black shadow because I
Yeah.
saw it with you.
And we've had, and then there's a
It was
weather.
trapping Kristen in the house when I saw it with
Yes.
her.
It trapped her in the
We were
house and
picking
wouldn't
Kristen
let her
up
out.
to go to our Christmas.
Yes. And
outing.
it was running around the house growling, not
Oh.
letting
And it was
her
like
out.
going really fast, and she was trying to open the door, and every time she tried to open the door, it would slam the door.
Yeah.
And so we called her, we're like, don't come out. And she's like, I can't even if I want to.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And there was a weather vane on the house, on the garage. It never moved.
It's
Never,
rusted.
ever moved. And after Nathan and Kristen moved there, it started moving.
And it spun like fast.
Yeah.
Even when there wasn't wind, it would spin really fast. And when we were in the car and that was happening with Kristen,
It moved.
it was spinning really fast and then stopped and pointed at the house.
Yeah.
Nope.
We were in the car like, what is happening?
Yeah. It
This
was
is
it
crazy.
was it was the scariest thing I've
Yeah.
ever experienced. And then Nathan's like, I'm getting out of this house.
Yeah.
It's after my family. I'm
Yeah.
getting out of this house.
Yeah.
And when Donna moved in with her family, she said she smelled peppermint, which was your dad,
My dad. And she found Ryan sitting in the floor,
staring in the closet.
staring at the closet and talking. And
Oh.
she said, "Who are you talking to?" He said, "The man in the closet."
But at that point, Ryan wasn't that young.
Well, he
Yeah,
he
it's
was
not
still
serious.
pretty young.
Yeah.
And
But he was like 12.
so she went through the house and saged. There's just been all
Bad
kinds
juju
of
in that
stuff.
house.
Wasn't there a time where Alexis was standing in front of the closet,
Yes.
staring into the closet as
She
well?
was holding her stuffed animal and she was staring into the closet. Nathan walked by, or Chris, one of them did, and saw her standing there, and they said her name and she didn't respond. Like she was like glassed
Frozen.
over.
She was frozen.
Yuck.
Yeah.
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 I remember hearing
And
that.
I believe Nathan will be able to tell this better,
Yeah.
but I believe it was in the middle of the night. And the thing about Alexis, and this happened not just at this house, is she would
It
get up in the
happened
middle
at
of
the
the night.
rental house too.
Yeah.
But we know there was something in the rental house
yeah.
because I felt it.
Yeah. But Alexis had a tendency to get up in the middle of the night and do things in her sleep and have no recollection. Whether that was the truth or not, we'll never know.
Right.
But there was a lot, like, just strange things she would do in the middle of the night. And I encountered her in the middle of the night during one of this after she had gotten her ears pierced. And we had told her, you know, you got to keep your piercings clean. And that, for some reason, was like a repetitive loop in her head. And she woke up in the middle of the night, and I saw her in the hallway, and her eyes were open, but she wasn't there. She wasn't seeing me.
No.
And I said, Alexis, what are you doing? She goes, I have to clean my earrings. I went, no, go to bed. It's the middle of the night. You can clean them in the morning. I have to clean my earrings. And she just kept repeating, I have to clean my earrings. Like it was a broken record.
Right.
And she was not awake, but she was walking around and her eyes were open.
Well, she would sit up in her sleep.
I go, huh?
No, she would have conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd be like, okay, that's enough. Go to sleep. But yeah, you'll need to talk to Nathan about things that happened there.
Yeah.
You know, he was in the garage, and my dad would flicker the garage lights.
As far as we know, but we've learned in our studies that demons will take on
I know.
the appearance
Well,
of
I'm
loved
also
ones.
going to tell you one thing, and it's been this way my whole entire life. I still can't do it.
Huh.
In that house, if you're standing at the kitchen sink
Oh,
and
God,
it's
yeah.
night,
Same.
you can't look in that back corner of the yard. It's evil. It is pure, unadulterated
I
evil
wonder if
in
Donna
the
would
back
let us,
of
like,
that
dig in
house.
that corner.
Because it is, even when I was younger, and I'd go visit who was wound up being my husband, but he was my boyfriend. And I would come home at dark and park in the garage. I would run from the garage to the door and couldn't get in the door fast enough because wouldn't even look over my shoulder because I was so afraid that thing was going to be there.
Ugh.
I don't know if I've told you about this, but that window in that backyard is why I am scared of looking out windows at yards at night.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember as a kid when I would have to go put a dish or whatever. My mom was very big on you put your dishes away, you wash your dishes yourself, whatever.
Right.
And she had that window that was facing that back corner. And if it was night, I mean, I would want to burst into tears. I would feel like I was having a panic attack standing at that sink, looking out into the backyard.
I couldn't look back there. We were outside a lot after dark because back when I was a kid, it wasn't anything to worry about. But we would not play in my backyard.
Front yard.
We always played in the front yard.
Right.
I would not go play in the backyard.
But your dad never had a problem with it. That's where he had his garden.
Yeah, it's where he had his garden. But even with the garden, I always felt like there was still something in that back corner.
What was in the garden?
That's what I want.
We need to get the spirit box and we need to go to Donna's.
Oh yeah, have fun.
I wonder if Donna would let me investigate her house ever.
Have fun. Call me later. We're gonna haul in.
Because honestly, I've been in Donna's house a lot since Donna's been in it, and
She says nothing happens.
I'm calm. I'm calm when I'm.
This is also the house that my grandfather, her father, passed away in.
Yes.
And that was my first experience with trauma. Was seeing that, but
that wasn't a fun sight to see. No. But I've been in that house alone.
Yeah.
Well, do you think since Donna saged it,
maybe
it kind of cleaned?
I think it's gone.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's gone because Ryan doesn't have any weird
He's
feelings.
in that room,
and he sleeps in the room I slept. And Alexis slept in.
Yeah.
And Donna doesn't have. I mean, Donna goes all through that basement,
right,
and everything.
I know they've renovated it, and nothing was going on during the renovation. So
I've been in the house with her a ton, and I've been in there without her.
Do you think
to take care of
Nathan
the dog?
and Kristen took it with them?
Do you think that, because I know Nathan and Kristen tend to have
objects?
Yes.
I
think they did.
Well, I don't know.
But I think they did.
I don't know about that because they moved from. They moved from there to Tennessee?
No, they moved from there to Brainerd.
Nothing happened in Brainerd that I know of, unless they have stories. Nothing happened in Tennessee. And I mean, as far as we know, nothing happened in their very old Victorian house in Sandwich.
They were dormant, I think.
They weren't
when they were
practicing.
in Tennessee. I think they were dormant. They weren't really doing any Wiccan anything, as
Right.
far as I know.
Right.
They are now,
Right. They have altars now. So
and I don't feel.
No, I don't feel anything going on.
I
at their
don't
house.
feel anything.
Because I feel like they're doing it better now. More like they're
Well,
more
I think
educated
they know
on it now.
more about it.
Can you explain what altars is? I don't know what that is.
They just have like Wiccan altars. So it's
The Wiccan star.
Oh.
yeah. So
You know, the earth, wind, fire, air,
they
water.
have like objects that pertain
represent
to those elements.
Yeah,
and
and just-
candles and yeah.
And just so everyone knows, Wiccan isn't like an evil practice.
No,
It is
it's
not
tied to witchcraft, but it's more
like
into
positive.
the healing.
Yeah.
Into the healing, being grounded to the earth.
to nature. Yeah.
To nature.
Nathan, I'll
not
have
to
him explain
do
this.
not to do evil, not to do
Right.
harm. I know everybody, the minute they hear anything that's got the wick in
Yeah.
it, they think, "Oh my God, they need to be burned." At
Oh,
the
it's
stake."
wicked, you know, or
Right.
something.
It's
But
not
like,
no.
paganism. It's
It's
I
not
knew-
paganism.
I knew Wiccan was good, but I felt it was important to clarify that because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people might have assumptions about what
Right.
Wiccan is.
and Kristen
it's-
is I think it's safe to say she is a practicing white witch.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
Which I would love to speak to her more in depth about.
She would probably love to.
Yeah.
When it was when Rachel was having problems, the first person I thought to call was her.
Mm-hmm.
And she lit a candle
Yeah.
and everything. And she said the candle will burn until she's fine.
Yeah. She sets her intentions.
Yeah.
It's like the craft, but without
Right.
Nancy.
You know,
Copy that.
Yeah.
we don't fly around on brooms.
No.
We
We don't invoke Manon.
Oh, just
We
me?
don't.
Just you. Yeah.
As far as I know, I can't light a candle without a match.
No.
So
No.
I haven't tried.
Oh, well. Maybe if you focus your thoughts.
Where is their candle?
Maybe you lit the candle in the McAllister house.
No, I
With your
was not
brain.
home
Oh, okay,
when it was lit. But
You also had instances of seeing your mother as an omen to things, correct? Not your mother, grandmother.
my great grandmother, who I'm named after,
Mm-hmm.
came to me when I was having emotional problem. I had a breakdown when I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And then when right after you were born
Mm-hmm.
and work and having 2 young children and all the pressures and all that, I was mentally not stable.
Right.
And I felt her presence with me one morning when I was up at 5:15 getting ready for work. I could feel her, and I felt like if I would have turned around in the bathroom, I would have seen her standing there.
Right.
Something kept me from turning around, which I don't know why.
No, I don't know.
I
They're
loved-
always behind you.
I loved her.
Yeah. Your stories about Grandma Rosie have always been
Oh, I wanted to
like
be
she was a
her.
protective
Yes, she was a midwife.
person.
And she raised my mother
Mm-hmm.
because my grandmother was not fit to raise anybody.
No.
And she was just always this most loving, generous, kind woman. I can remember her braiding my hair. So I just don't remember. I don't know why. It was the fear in me. It was just the fear in me.
Yeah.
And then one time at 2:00 in the morning, I was coming home from Joliet, Silver Cross Hospital.
When your mom was
My mother was seriously sick, and we weren't sure if she was going to make it. And I just remember praying all the way home, for God to work a miracle on her and everything. And all of a sudden, there was like this bright, shining light in the rearview mirror, and I thought it was a semi truck or a
Right.
a car
And this
light.
was on Archer Avenue, by the way,
Archer
which we
Avenue.
discussed in depth.
Yes.
At 2:00 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so I look in my side mirror and I don't see anything. And I turn and look over my shoulder and there's nothing there. I look up at my mirror and there's my grandmother smiling at me.
Like a psycho.
And I was just like, why are you here? And the next day my mother was doing better.
Yeah. She's not typically a good omen.
No, she's not usually a good omen.
No.
But she was a genuine smile.
Yeah. She got nicer before she passed. No? Okay, I'm lying. She was nice to me. I was also like 2. So there's that.
No, she believed in work even though I was pregnant and staying at the house when she started seeing those images coming into the house.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Images coming into the house.
Mm-hmm.
What?
When I was pregnant with you, dear, this
Yeah.
may be why you are. Your dad and I were visiting.
Uh-huh.
I was pregnant with you. We come so she could see me pregnant with you. I tried to make sure she saw all of us girls pregnant.
Uh-huh.
And in the middle of the night, she starts calling my name.
Yeah.
Rosie, Rosie, and so I go running in there. What, Momma, what? She said, they're coming into the house. They're coming into the house. And I said, who's coming? And at this point, I am shaking so hard I can't move.
Yeah, because you're pregnant, you think someone's trying to get in the house.
I'm thinking, oh my God, something's coming in the house. Who?
And Daddy was there or he was not
Daddy
there?
was asleep.
Oh, of course. Nothing wrong with that man. No.
So she goes, come here, look out the window. And I look out the window, I don't see anything.
Oh, okay.
But she's screaming at me. Don't you see them? They are coming through the walls.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, I don't, Momma. I don't see them. Well, they're coming in where your room is. Well, of course, that made me want to go back to bed, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I go in there and I wake up your dad, and I'm shaking so hard, I'm shaking the whole bed.
Yeah.
And he's got his arms around me, and he's like, what's going on? What's going on? And I tell him,
Mitch Barnes was not a believer.
no, not in any way, shape, or form.
No.
And he goes, honey, she's old. She's seeing things. She thinks she's seeing these things. And
Could be.
and in my mind,
Not
no.
a lady doing seances.
No. In my mind, I knew she saw what she saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I slept the whole night because she kept calling me. And I told her at one point, Momma, I am 6 months pregnant. You have got to stop doing this. You're scaring me to death.
Yeah.
And you have got to stop doing this. But they're coming in the walls.
No.
And
Okay.
And I said, I
That's what you
can't
think.
do anything about it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wish I knew what to do, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And you're just making me so scared that this can't be good for the baby.
No.
And so, but that went on all night
Oh gosh.
long. I got no sleep. We had to leave the next day because I just couldn't handle it. I know that was bad for her.
Yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
that I didn't know that. That's a lot.
Honey, I told you there's things you didn't know.
Clearly. Lord. Before we get to the end of Rose's first guest in, I gotta have you tell the great aunt hacking her husband to bits story.
My Aunt Edney,
Your Aunt Edney, that's a name.
who's my grandmother, Ma May's.
What's up?
Should we have some more wine?
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, that's why I never told you, baby.
Why? Because You thought they were coming for me?
No, I think it's why you see what you see.
I mean, maybe. It's not necessarily that I see things, it's that I feel it.
But you have seen faces.
Yeah, in my head, but not in front of me.
Yes, but that's almost the same thing.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man.
But
Your stories are wild.
Your dad would back me up on that if he was here. He would tell you that what I just told you is what exactly I told him.
I mean, you're not a liar.
Which he would have laughed about.
Yeah.
So
he would have been like, "Oh, she was
been
that."
like, when your mother was 6 months pregnant, hysterical pregnancy.
Okay, so Aunt Edney.
Aunt Edney is my mean grandmother, my mother's mother, aunt. It's her sister.
So they're both mean.
So, well,
Annie Mae and Edney.
So it's your great aunt.
They suck.
She's my great aunt, yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, the women, there was only 3 good women out of all of my Grandma Rosie's children.
Uh-huh.
The other were, you didn't want to mess with them.
Yeah.
But yes, she's my mother's aunt, so she's my great aunt. And she had an abusive husband who liked to beat her.
As they do.
And one day, well, there's a verbally, and then there's physically.
Correct.
But he thought breaking her ribs
was fun.
Busting her lip was a fun thing, So one day he beat her up pretty good. Mm-hmm. And she had enough. And there was an axe that was always left at the front door to go chop wood, Well, she got up off the floor and went and got that axe. And she chopped him all over the place.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, she dismembered him.
And his family hid all of her bloody clothes so she would go to jail for his murder. And she did. She went to women's penitentiary.
Yeah, they hid the evidence that she was abused.
Right.
That's what they did. Not that she'd murdered him.
Not that she had murdered him.
They didn't want it to look like
they hid her clothes that he abused her in, so she couldn't use that as evidence against him.
She died in jail.
No, she did not. She was released from jail because I went over and spent time with her.
Huh. She would. That sounds about right.
What?
Well, her and I, we liked each other.
Listen. I'm not saying if this is your situation to get an axe, but she had a justifiable reason for the hacking.
Totally.
Especially back then, there were no advocates for domestic violence.
And
there was no
court
for her.
And in the court, they were probably like, "You're a Letson. You deserve to be slapped around," because my great grandfather had a reputation for spouting off at the mouth.
Yeah.
He had his guts cut out of him. Somebody slit his stomach wide open. And my great-grandfather walked home carrying his insides in his arms.
Imagine seeing that walking down the street.
And my great-grandmother laid him down,
stuffed it back in,
poured kerosene over his wounds, placed his insides back in him, and sewed him up, and he lived to be 82 years old.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He was meaner than a snake.
Yeah.
So they said he had suffered a stroke in his old age, but he still managed all of his cuss words were legible.
Hadn't lost those.
So seeing that my grandmother, my aunts were all Letsons like that, they just followed suit. My grandmother had 5 husbands. 5.
She was a little bit of a Liz Taylor.
Yes.
if they weren't going to take care of her needs, she didn't want nothing to do with them.
And
You're not going to pay my bills, well, forget you.
to your knowledge, your mom isn't 100% sure her father is her father.
Right. Momma just claimed he was.
Right.
Right.
So who knows?
I doubt if she even knows who fathered. But
No.
she swears they're both, and I can tell by looking at them, they were both from the same man, Mom and Uncle Kenneth, because they look alike.
They do, but that could just be
And they
Annie
were,
Mae.
and Mom and Uncle Kenneth were close.
Yeah.
And Dad was his best friend.
Right.
And that's how he met Mom.
When she was 14.
And he
he
fell
was-
madly in
How
love
old
with
was
her.
he?
Well, he would have been 15.
Okay. So we're not looking at
Not like my
Inappropriate.
grandpa Macrelis.
what?
He was 29 and my grandmother was like 15.
No. No, bad.
And he took one look at her and said, she's going to be my wife. And he married her and had 14 children, 4 sets of twins.
At 16, I thought.
Yes.
16 children, 4 sets
4
of
sets
twins.
of twins.
2 sets of twins, 3 sets of twins passed.
No, 2.
2.
So
That woman was forever
she was pregnant all the time.
Wow.
In fact, when she started to go through the change of life,
menopause.
she
in southern
went
terms.
after him with a butcher knife. He woke up with this heavy, crazy breathing over him, and he opened his eyes, and there she stood, all wild-eyed, and crazy, with a butcher knife. And then
Can't wait to go through menopause.
and then he took
That's
her.
normal.
They took her not long after that, and she had a hysterectomy.
I mean, that's fair.
Hysterical.
I mean, she may have also been suffering from extreme postpartum that was just piling up on her because she kept having babies.
Well, she wouldn't get over having
The
babies
postpartum
before she
yeah.
had another set.
Yeah.
You know, he was like flea on a
Yeah.
he just couldn't stay off of her.
A flea on a rat.
But yeah, that pretty much sums up my. But I believe if we go back far enough, I had active witches in my family.
I mean, we need to do some digging one of these days
Oh, yeah.
and see if it goes back to like Salem.
Because
or
I've
if it's-
always been pulled to that kind of thing. There's just something about it that just gets a hold of me, and it's like, yeah, that's me. I'm that.
Did I ever tell you about the time that it was in our Howard house when I lived there with Angela, and Angela very much believed that I had
Yes.
witchy tendencies. She was one of the firm believers about that.
When she started hiding things on you,
Yeah.
and you could tell where it was.
Did I tell you that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were in the house, and that house was haunted. So only one side of the house, because the way the house was, one side of the house was old and the other side of the house was new. The new side of the house, nothing ever happened. Old side of the house, tons of stuff happened.
Had an old fashioned type person there.
And Angela wanted to test me, I guess, and this is something I'd never done before. So we went into the old part of the house. We lit candles. We kind of like centered ourselves, got ourselves in the right mind frame, and then we played a version of hide and seek, which was we wanted to see if whatever was in the house would guide me to things. So Angela hid a bunch of stuff, and I was supposed to just go on a hunt and find them. And it wasn't the way that we played it. I didn't search around at all. I went straight to everything the first time.
Right.
I found it all on the first
You
time.
guys tried that with me when I came to visit.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we freaked ourselves out. So we did a blessing. She was Catholic. So we did a blessing of that part of the house.
You've never mentioned about going to that, that was
Bachelor's Grove?
Yes, you've never talked about being clawed to pieces.
Oh yeah, no. Well, that that was just a simple story. There's a hidden cemetery that's pretty famous in Illinois. It's in Midlothian. It's called Bachelor's Grove. It's off of a highway. It says no trespassers, but obviously people trespass. And it's like graves from the 1800s.
That you can't even read their names.
You can't even read their
anymore.
tombstones. And me and my friends were fascinated with that place, so we went there often, always during the day. And
Did you go with Johnny?
I went with Johnny
Angela?
Perkins.
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
I didn't go there.
No, you didn't go. It was Johnny Perkins.
And she
Phoebe
got
Brittany
clawed all
and
to
Gail was
pieces.
there. Yeah. And we were walking around, and I'm always very careful. I make sure I don't walk on graves.
You don't walk on graves.
I even if they're not clearly marked, I try and walk around the perimeter as best as I can. But there's no way of telling what you're walking on at Bachelor's Grove because there's not really any real
Well, there are some that are
broken
not
off.
marked.
There's some that are not marked. But we were walking through it, and when we got out of it, I didn't realize it while we were walking through it, but it looked like at one point we were standing there talking, and then when we left, it looked like as if hands had come up out of the ground and scratched down my calves.
Yeah.
Like there were 5 nail marks on each side of my calf.
Like
Like
they
someone
just
was
went
trying to
like
grab
this.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
nail marks kind of like at Congress when I had the nail marks on my arm that went away when we left the hotel.
Yeah.
That was
Well,
the
these
part.
did not go
These
away.
didn't go away. These were there when I got home because I showed
Yeah.
you and you were like, "You're never going back there."
No,
again."
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went back there again.
Of course you did, because
I listened.
they don't listen to their mother.
I do.
Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
What about when we went on the ghost tour and the bus stopped there by was it the Chicago River?
Oh, this was cool. This is a short one. We were on the Chicago Ghost Tour.
Uh-huh, yes.
Yes,
I remember this.
and we stopped
I was there too.
Yep, the bus stopped and we walked down
A flight of
it was
stairs.
the
to-
LaSalle Bridge,
Yeah.
the Chicago River.
LaSalle. Can you tell we're from Chicago?
LaSalle and Wabash.
Wabash.
So we were down by the river, and the guide asked. He was telling the story that there's a little boy that drowned.
And we were on the platform
Yeah.
down there, and he started telling us a story
About a little boy that drowned in
Well,
the river.
It was actually a whole ship that sunk.
So, correct.
Yeah, so it was a whole ship that sunk in
Yeah.
the Chicago River. I don't remember the name of it. So
I don't either.
Yeah.
But they said that people mention
A little boy.
this little boy
yes.
that keeps showing up.
Who
That
was
drowned in
attracted to women of a certain age that were born in a certain month, because they believe was his mother's age and her birth month, and it happened to be my mother's exact age and March, the month my mom was born in. So she raised her hand and went,
well,
"That's me."
I just felt like I should
Yeah.
do it.
So he had her walk down the river by herself, and you take it from there.
I was walking down the river, and at first, I'm just walking, and I'm thinking, oh, great, there's a homeless man over there. In the I hope he just stays there and sleeps,
Yeah.
And then I could feel something brush my hand, and I was like,
And the thing that you didn't hear was he was telling the story because he didn't want you to know what the occurrences were.
right.
So she was far enough away. There's no way she could hear us. And he's telling the story. And as he's saying, this entity is known to try and hold the hand of these mothers when they walk down the river. And as he's saying that, I'm watching my mom start shaking her hand and rubbing it on her pant leg.
Yeah.
Well,
I remember that.
Yeah, I was shaking,
And we were like,
and
"What is happening?"
then it was like, no, I'll just leave it there,
We were like, there's no way she hears us and is like playing with us.
And then I get back and he tells me that, and I go, yeah, I could tell that there was something that was trying to it brushed my hand, and at first I was kind of like,
Yeah.
and I said, but then when it did it again, it did it so
Gently.
childlike, that your instinct was to just grab a hold.
Yeah, and let it happen.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. That was something that couldn't be debunked because you did not know that story, and you did not know what was going to happen. You just volunteered like the G she is,
Yeah.
to do that walk.
And I will say, you and your family are very good at like leaning into that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think at
If
least
we weren't as open, things like that probably wouldn't happen.
Well, I mean, that's not what I was going to say,
Okay.
but I think, you know, in my experience, like I've had one prominent experience and it happened with my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I think my mom didn't lean into it. I think my mom was terrified, naturally,
Mm-hmm.
of what happened. And we were very quick to just forget about it because it was scary. We don't want to talk about it. So it wasn't until I was 15 years old when I asked her again, hey, do you remember that lady in St. Petersburg, Florida, that
And she was like, I can't believe you saw
woke
her
us
today.
up?
Floated over you.
Something I never mentioned, we talked about this in our first episode, was that after my mother and I had this experience, which you can go back to listen to episode 1 if you haven't, and you don't know the story, but something that my mom told me was after the fact, she had asked a bunch of our neighbors about what had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, oh, did the people that lived in, because we were renting the house, so
Right.
it wasn't ours, but she's like, oh, did the people that own the house or that were living in the house before ever mention of some kind of like paranormal activity or anything weird that might have happened in the house? That my mom was kind of like presenting it nonchalantly, trying not to sound like
Weird.
an alarmist or weird, because you know, at
Right.
the time it was weird to talk about
Right.
stuff
Well,
like that.
right.
And so, and our neighbor was like, oh, you mean the lady in the moo-moo?
Yeah.
And my mom was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, yeah, we all see her. She haunts the whole neighborhood. Apparently, we did live on a golf course.
Right.
We lived on a golf course, but apparently before it was a golf course, there was like a small body of water of some kind that they drained and created the cul-de-sac out of.
Yeah.
They filled with like dirt. But when they drained
They found her.
the body of water, they found this woman, and it was discovered that she was murdered by her husband. And I mean, I don't know the full story,
Right.
but that was something my mom had discovered through asking the neighbors about what's going on in this
Well,
house.
that's cool. That's cool that you
yeah.
were able to find out.
Yeah.
See, my sister Linda is terrified of anything because
pants
our
scared.
grandmother
Me too.
scared us
Linda's
to
worse.
death. I was fascinated by it. Linda was terrified by it.
Yeah.
So Linda still, Donna and I,
Yeah, more fascinated.
Yeah.
more fascinated.
Well, Donna seems to have had a lot of experiences.
Donna
yeah.
has had a ton.
Because you
and
talked about her
one-
house.
her
at the
farm
And
first-
one
yeah.
correction about
Oh, yeah.
the old farmhouse
Okay.
is that they did not disturb the graveyard that was in the back. Donna
okay.
said they left it intact and built in front of it.
Okay.
But they did discover a
They did
graveyard.
discover
Yes.
the graveyard,
Yes.
but they didn't dig them up.
Right.
Okay.
But Donna and Dan found that graveyard
Right.
when they moved there.
Right. Because they were trying to make a garden, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They could not find any living relatives of the people that was buried in this little graveyard because
Yeah.
it was over 100 years old.
Right.
Right, yeah.
So they decided to leave it intact because Lamonters are superstitious.
Yes.
Aren't we all?
Well, they're a little
I'm
more.
just a little stitious.
I mean, I come from a hockey family. And
You're
so
very superstitious.
We're all very
Yeah.
superstitious.
Needless to say, my life has had many spoofy times.
Many spoopy times.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, Mommy,
Yes, dear.
what's your how wonderful?
My how wonderful
Guess
is getting to come and be here
Mm-hmm.
where I love more than anything in this world. I love California.
It loves
It
you.
makes me feel good.
Yeah.
And just I've been quarantined in my house since this virus started.
Since your birthday.
And so it was wonderful to get to leave and go somewhere else and look at the two beautiful faces that I get to see every day now.
Izzy and Moosh.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
easy.
no. But that's my happiness.
I mean, I think my how wonderful is pretty obvious.
Yeah?
It's pretty much the same thing. My mommy is here.
Of
and
course.
she hasn't been here in a year. And it always feels a little better,
Yeah.
more homey when mama's in the hood.
I love that. We've been
Yeah.
cooking. I cooked dinner
We've
last
been
night.
watching somebody feed Phil.
Mona, let me tell you, your daughter is a chip off the old block. You didn't think she caught on to your culinary skills, but she has.
This Tanya used to be the girl that
That put a pizza in the oven with the cardboard still under
Yep.
it.
Sure
So.
did.
I sure did.
So
You stopped me very quickly,
Sure
thankfully.
did.
But
Sure did.
So thankfully, I mean, we had the most amazing dinner last
How
night.
wonderful.
And I made her lunch today. We had a really lovely
Oh my
lunch.
gosh, the
It
lunch
sounded
she
good.
made me
Is
was
there leftovers?
wonderful.
No, we ate it all. I made a small portion because I just wanted us to have a little late lunch.
And it was perfect.
It was a little horchata with little prosciutto.
How about you don't tell me about it because you didn't make any extra because you are a selfish.
Okay,
I'll
Tanya.
make it for you on Friday.
Okay, Tanya, watch her. How wonderful.
Well, I mean, I would say it's you, but we've kind of
Cheating.
all done this.
Cheating.
So besides having mama number 2 here, and it's B and I just love having a mom around. Period.
Yeah, we're mama's girls.
We're
Well,
big
let me
mama's
tell
girls.
you, both of yours, me, and your mom.
Yes.
We love being here too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my mom has been texting me the
Jealous.
entire time you're here. She texted me today, and she was like, "What are you and Rose doing?"
Well, we've talked about maybe in the future having a mommy daughter Thanksgiving.
So, yeah, I'd say that something wonderful that you and I have been talking about a lot lately, and something
Friends.
that I've been thinking about a lot lately is our group of friends.
Yeah.
I want to do a little shout out. And trust me, it's not that I'm trying to forget anybody. There's a small group specifically that during quarantine and during all of this has been very significant.
Mm-hmm.
And just checking on each other and being there for each other.
The
Very,
fam.
very specifically, it's been Joey, it's been Nikki, it's been Laurel,
Sandy.
it's been Sandy, it's been Laurel and Mike, it's been Megan and Tom and Nolan. And our friend
And
Jamie.
as a mother,
Yeah.
I want to thank them too because you don't know what that makes me, how it makes me feel to know that you two have such awesome friends that
Yeah.
they're more like family.
Yeah.
Your
here.
mom and I were, because B was at work yesterday, and
Unfortunately.
Grandmaster Rose and I had a little heart to heart about our group of friends out here, specifically that group, because especially during these hard times, I have found that they have been reaching out and
Yeah.
they have been really supportive, and especially with this show,
Yeah.
they have been that specific group has been
Joey was our Halloween guest.
Joey,
He does our
I
theme
could
song.
listen to your voice on here all the time.
Yeah.
You just make me happy to
Aw.
hear you.
He's always made us happy.
That-
He's good people. He's good vibes.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
good.
I really enjoyed. It was just your banter together, and
Yeah.
it was just so easy and so fluid. It
That's
was
just-
just perfect.
That's just how we hang.
We miss
I
the
know, and I
hugs.
love it.
You know, and Nikki was so generous to be creative with us and give us our theme song.
I love that too.
Yes. And you know, Laurel has been pimping us out. And,
Pimping? Oh.
Yeah, well, not that way.
woo.
Calm down, everybody.
Okay, now.
I'd like to give a special side shout out. It might not be yours, but Cody and Bill have also
Yes.
they're also been real G's.
Yeah, and Jamie's always texting us. Megan is always texting us. Tom is always texting me, who is Megan's husband, and also a dear friend. Just people have been that specific group of friends has been so supportive, and
Yeah.
it's been so wonderful. And we also have some friends back in Chicago that I really, really want to shout out to. Our friend Johnny, our friend Becky.
Johnny. Oh, Becky.
Those two have been so incredibly supportive of the show.
my baby.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm kind of lumping a lot of friends into my how wonderful, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a million people, but I felt like it was really important to say, like, thank you guys so much for being so supportive and listening every week and texting us every week to
Having
say
your backs.
yeah, to say
always.
like, oh, we love the show, we love this. Like, it makes me feel so warm and fuzzy to hear that. And you know, a couple of them are Patreon supporters, which
Yeah.
please, like, you do not have to do that.
Yeah, if you're a friend, you don't have to pay to support us.
But it means it's very
Yeah.
emotional for us because
Definitely.
we feel so supported by you and we feel so loved.
We can't
And-
wait to hug you
Yeah, and
and
I
rent
think,
a cabin and have a friend weekend when it's safe.
yeah, I feel like I'm going on a really long rant. But
Yeah, it's okay.
But no, it's
I also-
perfect. It's perfect, honey. And and it's nice that you're letting them know that because, sometimes people feel like they
It's Thanksgiving.
not appreciated.
Yeah, I'm
and
grateful.
we're thankful. Dang it.
And I think it's important that I think it's been a hard year almost.
It's
now.
been a horrible year.
And we've been B and I have been talking so much about how much we miss being around our friends. And I'm very fortunate, I will admit, I get to work with some of my friends.
Yeah.
So I have the pleasure of seeing them day to day. Like my friend Megan and my friend Tessa, who I love also dearly. A special shout out to her.
And Laurel.
Joey.
And Laurel. I'm about to start working with Joey. And then
Laurel,
my friend
I
Trenton.
miss you. I miss our Friendsgiving.
My
My
mom
friend
and
Trenton,
Laurel
my
bonded.
friend Sam, who's no longer on our show, but you
Yeah.
know, and then some new friends that I'm making on our show. Our friend Maya, my friend Kelsey. Like it's just been I'm very lucky to work in an environment where we can be friends and we can be friendly. So like during this quarantine and during all this craziness, I at least can have those moments of being around people that I love and I know love me.
Right.
So that's been really like special and fortunate, and I can't deny the fact that that's really special. But anyway, My How Wonderful is our amazing group of friends who I shouted out to because thank you guys for just being so awesome and always looking out for us and having our backs. And I hope you know that we have yours too because you're so important.
family.
Yes, chosen family, 100%.
And I just want to say I'm very thankful for both my sisters,
Yes.
Linda and Donna, because I don't know what I'd ever do without them.
No, I know. You
They
got a
are
good-
my heart, and they know it, and I'm so thankful to have them.
You got a good set of siblings there for sure.
They're
Yes,
crazy.
I do.
My mom has 3 aunts that we call the crazy aunts. Because they're nut jobs when they're together in the best way possible. And it is very clear that you and Donna and Linda are going to inherit the crazy sisters.
They're on my father's side,
Yeah.
so they're on the good side.
It's so much fun to be around you guys though.
Yeah, you guys are going to be the crazies. You're gonna inherit that title.
We are a 3-act show, let me tell you.
We laugh so much.
So much, especially Linda's insane, but in the best way.
Oh man. Well, this was a great episode.
It was.
You did awesome.
Good job, Mama.
I could listen to you talk for hours.
Yeah, she has a good
thank
radio
you.
voice.
She
Have
does.
you listened to that? Like,
Yeah, I was
hello.
like, oh.
This is very soothing. She could read a calm sleep story.
We should give her a novel to read us and then we'll
Yeah, Calm
We'll
Sleep
just
Story
listen
by
to it.
Grandmaster Rose. She can read
If there's
Samuel L.
any-
Jackson's
if there's
Go to F to
any
Sleep.
if there's any single men out there in
Oh my god!
the late 60s, listen to my voice, follow the voice.
Rose! Rose!
Okay, this isn't Tinder. Lord.
Whoa!
You can't swipe right on our podcast.
I don't
an
wanna-
HR issue.
I don't want to swipe. I've tried that.
Yeah,
it's
no.
not fun.
Men your age are ready to get married. Like, man.
They're a little too
eager
crazy.
beavers.
Yeah.
All right.
Crazy.
Where can they find us? I'll tell you. You can find us at How Awful Podcast at all of the social medias, every single one. You can find us on YouTube at How Awful Podcast, where you'll find transcribed episodes for your hearing impaired friends. Or if you just are one of those people that like to read your podcast.
Yeah.
No shame in that.
I think we make
we're a
them
little
kind of-
behind. We're getting caught up. We're a little behind.
We make them kind of interesting anyway.
Yeah. You can join our Patreon if you want to help us fund this podcast and future fun like videos and such.
That will be Patreon.
And adventures.
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 Adventures in the awfulness.
B and I are ready for adventure time.
We're ready for adventure time.
And Grandmaster Rose is ready to go with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Joey too. Everybody wants
I
to go
know
with
everybody
us.
wants to go with us. So it's gonna be a lot of guests.
It's
once
gonna
we
be
get
a
that
crowd.
going. It's gonna be fun.
And Joey, I am so for the paranormal, and I think you need to drag me into it because I think it would be as funny as it is serious.
It would.
It would. I mean,
It
that's
would.
our show. Funny
That's
as
our
it is
show.
serious.
Joey Morales, I think you have a fan club of one.
Well, two. My
I
mom.
love him.
Yeah.
I love
Everyone
him.
loves Joey.
Yeah.
Mona, my mother, would
Yeah.
not stop talking about how much she loved Joey's episode and
Oh,
how
everybody
it was
loves Joey's episode.
wonderful.
Apparently,
it
we're-
was wonderful.
Apparently, Joey just makes the podcast. I guess.
so he just needs to be another
Here we go.
co-host.
I guess so.
basically.
What did I miss? Oh, you can go to howawfulpodcast.com, and that's going to have the link to absolutely everything,
All the things.
all of the things. And you can email us at howawfulpodcast@gmail.com. If you have any stories whatsoever.
We're happy to read them.
You don't have to tell us about like your dinner, but like, you know, if you survived something awful, let us know.
Tell us your awful stories.
She did.
She did.
And if you want to follow Gernana Mama
Yeah,
on
Nikki spelled it
Instagram,
out.
it's GRNANAMOMMA. That's on Instagram.
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
She makes Star Wars costumes,
And I could make
robes,
I could make the steampunk.
steampunk as well. If you're in the market, hit her up.
Look me up and
Wild
we
Space
can
Outpost.
hook up a deal.
Wild Space Outpost is my brother. That's where she is employed through.
Yes.
You can commission through Wild Space Outpost on Instagram, and you can have your very own Grandmaster Rose design.
Did we miss anything?
I
don't think so. Anyway, I've been Tanya Lee.
I've been B.
I've been Grandmaster Rose. Thank you for having me.
And what is this, Mom?
This is How Awful.
Nice.
We love you.
As always, we've been B and Tanya Lee. Our logo was created by MJ Savard, and our theme music courtesy of Nikki Lou.